Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. And before I begin, I'd like to introduce you to my grandma. Her name is Dina, and my granny died in 2004, victim of a degenerative disease. And I was still a teenager back then, but I remember very well what our doctors told us. Every day when she wakes up, that is the healthiest day of the rest of her life. There is no getting better, they said. And you know, this was for me as a family member, and for her, of course, as a patient, a very crushing reality. This helplessness in face of a degenerative disease. Time was our enemy. And my grandma is one in millions of patients who are fighting against time. Imagine, for instance, not even knowing that you have a particular disease. Imagine it takes an average of 9 years for you to be even diagnosed with a certain disease. Can you imagine that? Well, now ask yourself, what would it take for us to transform the care for patients? Welcome, everyone. My name is Thyago, Ohana, and I'm a global digital healthcare transformation strategist for UCB out of Brussels. So thanks for joining me today. And in the next few minutes, I have just one main goal for us. It's for us to feel inspired about joining forces to transform care delivery for patients. At UCB, we see this as the digital and the business transformation. It means that for us at UCB, we are looking beyond the medicine when it comes to creating patient value. And we do that by looking at the foundation problems that patients face every day. Patients with diseases like epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, psoriasis, or axial spondyloarthritis, also known as AXPA. We'll get back to that one. But the world is changing. So much is known, and healthcare has never been readier for disruption. It is a really, really turbulent time. And once again, we are in this race against time. But this one is a good one. And I'm here to tell you that this turbulent time is in fact amazing because it creates the right conditions for inspirational developments such as decoding the human genome or developing a vaccine against a killer virus in a record time. But we know it's true. Healthcare is a complex beast, and it's really difficult to transform. But there are opportunities. You see these emerging shifts on the screen, the power of data, data analytics, data mining, AI, machine learning, patients taking taking ownership for their own health, or the shift towards treating illnesses to preventing diseases. And as all of these things are materializing, our goal is to leverage these shifts as catalysts to reach our transformation goals. And we start by looking at our complexity of the patient journeys. We know, for instance, that 90% of healthcare costs are going towards the last 2 years of a person's life. This is not sustainable. We also know that the care pathways for patients is incredibly complex. And we also know that this complexity is increased manifold by the numerous stakeholders involved in this care pathway, making healthcare a much more horizontal than this vertical landscape that patients have been navigating right now. And you know, when you look at this one slide, it's a very, very busy slide, isn't it? But I think it does a really, really great job at communicating just how complex the current healthcare system is, how hard it is to navigate. By working to digest this lengthy patient journey, you can almost feel the frustration of patients. And throughout this journey, there are lots of things that can go wrong, and they are going wrong. But here, we've heard firsthand from our patients. In the case of AXPA patients, for instance, it can take up to 9 years, an average of 9 years actually, before they actually reach a diagnosis. The same is true for Parkinson's disease. Before symptoms manifest, it takes ages before patients are properly diagnosed. For epilepsy patients, for instance, once you're being diagnosed and you're beginning a treatment, it's like the flip of a coin. Nobody knows which therapy will help, so it's really trial and error. So as a patient, once you're at home and you're confronted with reality, it's very crushing. And also from a social perspective, one can imagine. Right? But the good news is that all of these trends we've seen so far, there's a lot happening from a scientific perspective and also from a digital innovation perspective. And we can leverage this technological innovation to transform care. But the value, the true value, only comes when all of these things are integrated, when all of these things become connected. Because if every small solution is living on its own, we cannot transform care. The transformation cannot be materialized. And we strongly believe that the future of healthcare is about connectivity and data integration. It's about these technologies and solutions starting to talk to each other with one common denominator. That is the health of the patient. That is the outcome for the patients. That is how healthcare can be transformed. And here's the fundamental message for us today. We at UCB, when we look at transforming healthcare, we can see our journey not only as a digital transformation journey, but also as a business transformation one. So we are complementary and we are integrated because we look beyond our core business as a pharmaceutical company into new solutions and new operating models that create value for patients. It is a combination of the two together that we call the digital business transformation. And what it means, in other words, is when we talk about these advances in technologies, here shown in this model as the blue boxes on the vertical axis, these advances in technologies that help us push our organization forward into the future and digitize how we are interacting with our stakeholders, this is not responding to disruption. This is called progress, and this is amazing. This means that we are taking our core business to the next level, and this is usually called digital transformation, and it is. But it's not the whole picture. That is the catch. When we use technology, now looking at the horizontal axis, as to transform how we are rethinking our core business as a pharmaceutical company and really challenging our products and services and business models that we want to bring forward, that is responding to disruption, and that is business transformation. And only together to truly achieve the best of both worlds, we have to achieve digital business transformation. And in practice, what does that mean for pharma? Well, there are many ways this can materialize, of course. And one of the ways we do that is through what we call multi-sided platforms. So a multi-sided platforms can build a multidimensional real-time understanding of patients and diseases with the potential to fuel really a flywheel of innovation in patient experiences, in diagnosis, and treatment. You see, with a multi-sided platform, we are truly putting patient value at the center, at the heart of everything we do, and allowing providers, users, and others to exchange and create value in a mutually beneficial way. And I said before that healthcare cannot be transformed alone. It's a complex beast. But together we can transform it. We can use insights from data and from multiple stakeholders to create value at a very, very low cost. We can combine resources and maximize the value for the whole ecosystem by allowing everyone, but putting anyone in this ecosystem in the position to drive innovation. Here in multi-sided platforms, the critical value is the community. The greatest way for us to prove that is to, like no other digital business model, platforms have really shifted the balance and power in many markets. You see, value creation is shifting from just producing and delivering products and services towards managing the interactions between the powers of supply and demand. That's the beauty of it. And the proof of it is that multi-sided platforms can be observed in this index here. You see, the many advantages that platforms bring over traditional business models is that they are valued much higher in stock exchanges. In fact, 7 out of 10 companies in the world by market capitalization today, they're platform business, but not in healthcare. And that's the thing. Platforms are set to become the new normal in healthcare by acting as a gatekeeper and a driver for future health markets. China, with its 2030 strategy to build a modern and high-income society, has been investing a lot, and you can see there is no surprise they're currently leading in platforms. In the US and the EU, there is no burning platform yet, but yes, there are lots of opportunities. As you can see, in this healthcare platform ecosystem is really very fragmented. And the vertical axis of this diagram, of this graph, really shows the level of integration. And this reverts back to what we said before, that the true value of healthcare transformation can only be achieved with connectivity and data integration. And this is also a mindset shift for us in digital care transformation, which is reflected in our vision to transform care at UCB. We want to remove the burden of disease and become the partner in life for the patient populations we serve. And this vision implies the understanding that we cannot do it alone. In fact, it means that we are really hyper-focused in solving the needs and friction points of our patients. That's why we call ourselves friction hunters. But we are also very cognizant that we have strengths as a pharma organization, but we don't have all the capabilities needed in digital development and technologies. So we also want to be a curator, which means that we want to bring the right stakeholders together to unite around solving those problems we have identified. So these are the two foundation roles we want to play. You see, for me, it's very important that we step away from seeing the drug only as the core of everything we do. We have learned from other industries. We have learned that platforms and transformation can only be materialized when we look things through the eyes of the patient, the customer. So to reach our ambitions, our future must be combinatorial. What it means is that we must be able to combine our strengths and our resources with those of others in the ecosystem. And this is the power of partnerships. Here are some of the examples of how we are doing through corporate venturing at UCB. And we want to see how to best work with partners. Also partners who have different needs, different ways of working together in this ecosystem. As long as we are fighting for a common purpose, we can do that together. We want to unite our expertise and maximize the value for us all. And to give you a more practical example of how the value of the community can be maximized through ecosystems thinking and platforms thinking, here's how we aim to solve for the delay in diagnosis for AxSpA patients. I told you it takes an average of 9 years. That is almost a decade for patients with AxSpA to be properly diagnosed. We're taking this as a challenge, and a challenge we cannot solve alone. So we want to create an ecosystem to help solve for this problem. So here's what it means. How can we identify, out of the millions of people living with lower back pain, the few % of those who are now into an inflammatory process where their joints are deteriorating? How can we use digital technologies and innovation to identify these patients early on and get them in the right treatment quickly? This is a really complex and difficult endeavor, a difficult problem to solve, but we truly believe we can do this by integrating the value exchange of the many stakeholders that accompany patients from a very early stage of symptom onset towards all the consultation stages and treatments. So by applying digital technologies to test this, we are now in an exploratory phase. It's very early stage, but nobody has done this before. Everyone sees the problem, but nobody knows how to solve it. And for us, it's not about solving this problem alone. It's about building an ecosystem prior to building a platform. It's about working together with patients, with GPs, rheumatologists, other specialists, payers, insurance, and all others connected in this ecosystem by bringing them all together and see how we can create a journey of the patient and identify them early, right? So there are lots of things that need to be lined up. And it sounds like, are we working on one solution? No, in fact, right now, we're working at 8 different projects at the same time, as of now. And we have each project, there is a different goal, a different stakeholder with a different priority, but they are all very much connected. And we are trying to integrate them through a platform, and that's what it makes it unique. Again, we believe that the best approach to solve complex problems in healthcare, like this one, is a collaborative one, with each stakeholder addressing their needs and then linking them together with patient value at heart. So again, very important message. It's not about building a platform and pushing it to the stakeholders. We are building a community by understanding the different roles they play, and then we build an ecosystem by acting as facilitators of these interactions. So this is how we believe we can transform care for AxSpA patients. So we believe we have the time to diagnose, we can have the time to diagnosis by doing that. But of course, to do that, we, both as individuals, as also as organizations, we must excel at one thing, listening. And this takes me back to where we began today, my granny. Growing up, I remember we had a very old broken television set that didn't have audio. And my granny used to tell me that it was better for me that way, because like that, I was learning to listen even to the things that were not being said. So thanks for that piece of advice, Granny. And thanks everyone for joining me today. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, by the way. And thank you to the Next Pharma Summit team for the invitation. And on behalf of the whole digital care transformation team and our teams head, Eric Janssen and Colin Lake at UCB, I wish you a great day and a fantastic rest of Summit. Hope this has been an inspiring one for you. Thank you, everyone.